Welcome to the Better Buy, where I give you the information you need on the stuff that you want so that you can make the better buy. In this video, I'm walking you through the Apple Watch bands that I've used for the last year and come to rely on for my Apple Watch Ultra. I'm going to give you a quick run through of the bands, and then I'm going to go into a detailed review afterwards. So for those of you that want the quick stuff, let's get it. I personally recommend these braided loop bands because they're only 10 bucks. They basically work exactly like the Apple Watch ones, except they're significantly cheaper. One thing to note is that they do have a little bit of a stretch issue sometimes where the insertion point is, so the elastic will get stretched out and kind of bubbled up, but I found that that's really not an issue when wearing them, and overall they've still maintained basically the same level of tightness or stretchiness. They do get a little bit loose over time, so that's something to be aware of. However, in general, I've been very happy with them, and for 10 bucks, I think they're worth it. You can get tons of different colors and just something that I've enjoyed wearing. Now, the athletic band, which is this guy right here, is also only 10 bucks. And in general, I've been really happy with this one. I had a couple of these. They don't last quite as long as the Apple Watch one, and I'll talk about that more later. But overall, for just 10 bucks, I don't think you can go wrong with these, and all the links are in the description for all of these bands, so you can check them out down there. When it comes to the Apple Watch, actual Apple Watch band, this thing is worth getting. It's 50 bucks. I wouldn't buy a ton of them because they last a long time, but in general, I would say it's good to have at least one of these, especially the athletic one, for exercise and other things that you can rely on if you're in a situation where you want that confidence. And that's what I would say about this guy. These two steel bands, the reason that I have two of them is, number one, I got the black one first because I thought I would like the black, but then I ended up going with the silver one, and I'll talk more about the reasons why later. But essentially, I do recommend both of these. They scratch up a little bit if you're getting those, if you're hitting them on stuff, so just be aware of that. There's a lot of markings on there, but overall, if I had done a better job taking care of this, which I'll talk about later, it would have lasted me longer. So that's my own fault. And then lastly, we have the Ocean band. Of the three Apple Watch Ultra bands, the Solo or the Alpine Loop and the Trail Loop, and this one, the Ocean band is significantly better for several reasons, which I'll walk through later, but this is the one that I recommend. If you had to pick one band and you had to rely on that band in all different situations, this is the one to get. So those are my answers on these bands. That's my quick walkthrough for those of you that don't have a lot of time. If you want to stick around, I'm going to run through a more detailed walkthrough of each of these bands. Let's get into it. So first off, these bands are basically all the same. They're from the same company, they're from the same size, all that kind of stuff. The main reason that I have several of them is because they were only 10 bucks, and I really like having color options for the braided loop stuff. So overall, I've been really happy with them. The only thing is that in general, they do get a little bit looser. They're not nearly as tight as I would like, but you can see on my wrist, it's not like it's just falling off my wrist. And as long as you're not doing a bunch of heavy exercise, these are fine. So I think it's more of just a general comfort thing. I like my watches pretty tight, and so having even a little bit of wiggle sometimes gets to me, but overall, like I said, not an issue. However, when they get wet, they absorb basically everything. So if you're getting really sweaty, if you're dealing with dirty stuff, whatever, it's going to get dirtier faster because the cloth material, and that's just something you have to be aware of, and you should already be thinking about anyway. So just be aware of that when you're getting these kinds of bands, that if you're going to wear them, make sure you wear them in the appropriate situation. If they get really wet, they kind of get a little bit looser, but then when they dry out, they tend to tighten up a little bit, which is nice. One thing to note is that these mechanisms on the cheaper bands, you see this little magnet part right here, all right? These little mechanisms with the plastic and all that kind of stuff, it's just not as high a quality as Apple's stuff. It does work, obviously. I've been using them for a year, but I've had a few of them go bad on me with the magnet part, so just something to be aware of. The quality is not quite as much, but it's only 10 bucks, so I tend not to worry about it. Again, all the links are in the description, and then you've got all the color options. You will notice like something like, for instance, on this one, they don't have the production quality of Apple, so you can see how maybe this band is a little bit, it's got the little bubble right there, and that's just part of what happens. Apple's going to do a better job with quality control, so they probably wouldn't even let those bands be sold, but I've been happy, so. The next band is the athletic band, and I really enjoyed this one because it's 10 bucks and it's got this little loop thingy on the bottom, which I'll talk about in a second. So first we're going to go ahead and slide this guy on. One thing to note is that it does not fit as seamlessly as the Apple ones. You can see right here, it's got a little bit more of a pull and a wiggle. It's not quite like as tight, but I haven't had an issue with it, so just be aware of that. This thing I like because you can pull on this little guy, the end slips right through, and now when you go to put the watch on, it's pretty easy to just pull that up and get it into position, all right? So then you just slide this guy down here, and you're good to go, all right? And I've really enjoyed this band. I like the black, I like the yellow, I like having that little thing right there. It's just kind of a nice situation. I did have to cut the end of this one, as you can see right there, because it was pretty long when I got it. So just be aware, whatever size you get, you might want to cut that off. I was finding it was wrapping like all the way around down here, and that just wasn't very comfortable for me. If for some reason you don't like this little loopy part, you could cut that right off. Just grab some scissors and do a little smooth circle there, and you'd basically have the Apple Watch band. One thing to note about this one is it does have a little more stretch than the Apple Watch band, and I like that because when I tighten it down, it kind of like, it's easier to get tight because I can pull it pretty tight and then it'll stretch out on my wrist. So if I wanted to get it really tight on in here for like a fast run or some sort of a workout like that, I know that I'm going to have really good heart rate monitoring because it's fully secured down there, okay? And you can see how tight that is, but it's giving a little bit of a stretch. And then if I needed to loosen it, it's pretty easy to just pop that over one. So I've been really happy with this one. There's a few other bands linked in the description like it. Obviously companies come and go, but the basic structure is the same. One other thing to note is that the magnetic point on this one as well, and this is with all of the cheaper bands that you're going to get, that little part right there that pops in and locks in is going to go bad faster than an Apple one. The quality control is just not there. So I had like maybe one or two of these go bad, but you can tell that it's going bad. Like when you go to put it in, it won't lock, and then that's how you know. So you just get rid of that band. That's pretty straightforward. All right. The Apple Watch band, I don't even really need to put this one on, but we'll do it anyway because you might as well. We're in this point. So this thing is much tighter in the fit. Like I have to really push to get it in there, but that lets me know that this thing is designed more appropriately for the, now this one actually does have, I was talking about the wiggle on the other one, but this also has the wiggle. So maybe it's not as big of a difference. All right. One thing about the Apple Watch band when I go to put it on is I put my middle finger right there in that little loop area, and that lets me easily wrap this guy around so that I can then place this part on here. I don't know if anybody makes videos on how to put a watch band on, but I guess I just did. So that's pretty loose for me. So what I would do is just slide this up one, like, let's see if we can do it. It's a little bit harder once you've got it on. So I'm going to go like this. And once again, I really like this band. It's a little bit stiffer than this little $10 one. It's definitely stiffer, but the material makes it easier to slide through this portion right here. And obviously it's an Apple band, so you've got that product quality kind of thing. Okay. Overall, really good band. I highly recommend getting at least one of these for your watch, and then go for the cheaper ones for multiple options. All right. Now we get to these metal ones. I really like these metal ones just for dressing up an outfit. I think the color matches almost perfectly with the Apple Watch. So one thing to note is obviously once again cheaper. So you can see right here, this little plastic bit has kind of come off that cover there. And sometimes these guys get stuck when I'm putting them on. When you're doing the metal one, you need to make sure that this piece goes in at the same time, like that. You can't put them in one at a time, and then you just slide them both in just like that. That's what I have found to be the best way to put them on. And then from here, it's really easy. You pop one clasp, you pop the other clasp, and now you're good to go. And I think that's a really nice looking watch band. It matches the color really nicely, and that's why I ended up getting this one after I had the black one, because the black one looks nice, but I think it looks kind of weird when you've got the black band and then the silver or the titanium there. They do have these in a titanium color, but I think it's still made out of stainless steel. So just something to be aware of. As far as opening this one, it's got a butterfly clasp, so you just press right here and both of these will pop out, and it's very easy to take off. So the only thing about this is you're going to have to modify the length to make sure that it fits your wrist, so be aware of that. And then when you go to take it off, you have to press the button right inside there, just like you normally would. Move it just a little bit, and then go get the other side. Move that side a little bit. Sometimes it's a little tough to budget. I'll give you the real video here. And now I've got both those moving. Then I'm just going to come in from the side. I put my fingers right on the edges like this, and that allows me to just kind of push it off. So, not too difficult to remove, but a little bit more than some of the other bands. Just something to be aware of. Okay? And overall, I've been really happy with this one. I got the black band because I love black and I think it looked really smooth. However, once I started wearing it with the watch, I felt like it wasn't quite as nice as it could have been. This one goes on the exact same way as the silver one. And again, all the links are in the description for these different bands. This guy just slips in like that, and then we're good to go. But you'll notice that, like, I don't know, I just feel like the color here, when you go from black to the titanium, just looks a little weird to me. When the screen is black, I actually think it looks okay, but my screen is lit all the time, so I just don't love that. You will notice, though, that when you compare these two, my silver one is significantly more scratched up. You can see that. Whereas the black one seems to have just not gotten scratched up as much. I think part of that's because I don't wear it as much. And a lot of times I've kind of left this on while I'm editing on my MacBook. So this is contacting the metal there and it's getting scratched up. Just something to be aware of. Obviously, if you were to take care of this at $25, you could easily just wear this for only specific occasions and you could probably avoid most of the scratches. However, if you're going to do it for everyday wear, you're going to get scratches on it and you just need to accept that as part of the situation that you're getting into. But for $25 to get a nice little metal band, I think it's worth it. They're very easy to resize. I mean, it takes obviously some work. It's not as fast as, some other band. But once you get the pins out and you spend the time to do that correctly once, you're basically good to go. And the nice thing about these guys is they're identical except for the color. So once I knew exactly how many to take out, I could just repeat that process. I have been looking at getting some other bands like these just because I like the metal bands. It's nice to have something to switch it up on. But this silver one, man, I mean, this guy he's pretty beat up. So I've definitely used him a lot more. Just something to be aware of if you're going to get these bands. But overall, I've been really happy with the metal ones. I like them a lot. And now we've got the Ocean Band, the band that is the best band for the Apple Watch Ultra from Apple. And here's why. A couple of things. First off, the two cloth bands, the Alpine Loop and the Solo Loop band, are cloth, which means they absorb and hold on to all of the stuff that's getting on your wrist, on your body throughout the day. Whether you're going to a river, swimming in the ocean, washing your hands, whatever, it gets wet, it stays wet, and that's not great for like hygiene and stuff like that. The silicone of this band is obviously not going to have that problem, and you can very easily wash it and clean it. And while I haven't cleaned this recently, you can clean it pretty easily, and it looks very good once you clean it. Although I think the white one is going to just get dirty, so maybe try and stay away from that one. Another thing that I love about this band is the ridging. You don't really notice the ridging on your wrist as much once you've got it on. And as this part slides through here, it holds on to it. You can see right there, it just naturally fits into that little bump, and you got a lot more stability here. So this band, I think, is very trustworthy for a lot more situations than the other one. Maybe the Alpine Loop with the way that it hooks in, not too bad. But then you've got that metal piece sitting on your arm, and it's definitely not as comfortable as this little setup. I also think this being a normal watch band setup is the easiest one for most people to put on because they're used to this kind of setup. Now, one more thing that I love about this band specifically is that I set it up so that this second titanium piece right here actually opens on the top. And all you have to do that is force the piece through the Apple Watch band right there. And I have a video, I'll put the link up in the description showing you how to do that. But what that allows you to do is that when you put this band on, like let's say I'm going for an extra tight situation, I can open up this little section right here and I slide my band through that metal, or I slide the metal piece through my band so that now this is completely locked in. It's not going anywhere. You would literally have to rip through the silicone to get that off me. And what that means is when I'm out surfing or doing other extra activities, which I like to do, I don't have to think about it. And you can see it's even difficult to get off. So that's a very secure way to do it. Whereas if you have it in here, and I know it still is locked in a little bit, if this catches on something with force, you can see that's just me doing a little quick thing. If this were to catch my leash or a fin on the surfboard, that's gonna pop. And I don't really want to think about what could happen next if this was to go a little further and then this guy flips off. I don't think that's a high likelihood. I think this is more than likely going to be fine even if you just had it like this. But the fact that you can modify that piece and get it to go through the band for that extra mental security is just, for me, the final reason why I think the Ocean Band is the best overall band for the Apple Watch Ultra. All of these bands are linked below. If you liked this video and it helped you out, make a better buying decision or make a buying decision in general, please like it. Comment down below which band you think is the best or other bands that you've found. If you have any bands that you've used for the Apple Watch, throw them down below so that other people that watch this video could see those bands and get some ideas about what they might like to try. I think one of my favorite things about this channel going forward that I want to continue to push is everybody helping everybody. So by creating a place where people can honestly share their information and talk about the problems they've had or the benefits that they've gotten from different products, we can help each other find better products and do a better job sifting through those things to make the better buy. And that's the goal of the channel in the first place. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it helped you get the information you needed for the stuff that you wanted so that you could make the better buy. And you should subscribe because I'm going to keep making videos like this. mainly on tech products, but other stuff in general, just to help people do exactly that. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.